I let them in, they say some moments never fade. Not because of what happened, but because of who you became when it did. For me, it began on a rainy Saturday afternoon. The kind of day that feels heavy before anything even goes wrong. The sky was a dull shade of gray, like it couldn't decide whether to cry or keep everything inside. I stood by the kitchen window watching the rain slide down the glass. And for the first time in a long while, I felt completely alone. James, my husband, had left early that morning for another business trip. No gentle kiss goodbye. No warmth in his voice. Just the sound of the front door closing and the quiet hum of a car fading down the street. As I watched him drive away, I wondered when we became strangers in our own home. When did my presence turn into background noise in his world? The kids were away with their grandmother for the weekend, so the silence in the house was sharp. Not peaceful. Not calm, just loud. The kind of silence that fills the air until your heart aches under the weight of it. I moved through each room, straightening what was already straightened, cleaning what was already clean, just to feel like I still existed. Then my phone buzzed. A message. It was from Thomas, one of James's oldest friends. But the group chat showed 3 names, Thomas, Malik, and Evan. They said they were nearby and wanted to stop in for a bit. Maybe I should have said no. Maybe I should have thought twice. But I didn't. My fingers hovered over the screen, and before I could talk myself out of it, I typed back, "Sure, come by." I didn't know it then, but that message was the first door I opened that I would never truly close again. When they arrived, I told myself it was nothing. Old friends visiting, familiar faces filling a quiet house. But when they stepped inside, the air shifted. The laughter that followed wasn't the same kind that used to echo through my home. It was warmer, closer. For the first time in months, someone actually looked at me. Not past me, not through me, at me. Thomas smiled in that gentle way that made you feel seen without a word. Malik joked like he always did, his voice bright, his energy magnetic. And Evan, he didn't say much, but when he hugged me, I could feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. I brushed it off. Told myself it was all in my head. But deep down, something had already begun. Something quiet. Something dangerous. I was lonely. Starved for warmth. And standing in a silent house with 3 men who made me feel alive again. You want to know what happened next? But first, you need to understand where it all began. I married young. Maybe too young. Back then, I believed love could hold up the whole world. And for a while, it did. James was full of energy and drive, a man who could light up any room he entered. I was proud to be by his side. I wanted to be his peace, his home. And I think I was once, but time has a way of changing things. Between the late nights, the missed dinners, the endless deadlines, something between us began to fade. His eyes no longer lingered when I spoke. His touch felt more like obligation than affection. We still shared a bed, but the space between us had grown colder than the sheets. I tried to hold on. I made his favorite meals. I lit candles. I even bought new dresses once, hoping he'd notice. He didn't. He said he was tired. And I smiled, pretending to understand. But inside, something cracked. When the kids were home, the house came alive again. Their laughter filled the spaces where silence used to live. But even their joy couldn't mask the distance that had settled between James and me. So I poured my energy into the house. Rearranging furniture, adding flowers, lighting soft candles that filled the rooms with eucalyptus and comfort. If I couldn't fix our marriage, maybe I could fix the air around it. It was during that time that James's friends started visiting more often. Thomas would drop by first. Always polite, always thoughtful. He'd bring pastries or wine and sit at the kitchen counter while I cooked or folded laundry. He wasn't flirtatious, just kind. But his presence filled a space that had been empty for too long. Malik came by next. Loud and playful. He brought gifts for the kids and made me laugh without even trying. His teasing was harmless, at least at first. But sometimes his gaze lingered longer than it should have, and I didn't stop it. Then there was Evan. He was quiet, calm, observant. He noticed everything: a new hairstyle, a change in perfume, the way I smiled when I didn't mean it. He made me feel visible again. When James left for another weekend business trip, he mentioned offhand that his friends might stop by to watch a game. I laughed it off, not realizing that would be the weekend that changed everything. The rain started that evening. I lit candles, set out glasses, tried to convince myself it was all innocent. When they arrived, each brought something: wine, snacks, flowers. The laughter came easily, the wine flowed, and so did the warmth. We ate dinner, talked about old times, and shared stories that felt lighter than they should have. But underneath there was something else, a quiet energy that no one dared name. When the night ended and they finally left, I stood alone in the silence. The faint scent of cologne hung in the air. My heart beat faster than it should have. Something in me had awakened. I told myself it was loneliness. But it wasn't. It was hunger for connection, for presence, for something real. The next day, I looked in the mirror longer than usual, noticing the faint lines near my eyes. The woman staring back wasn't the same one James once adored. I fixed my hair, added a touch of blush, and sprayed perfume I hadn't worn in months. I didn't know who I was trying to impress, only that I wanted to feel alive. That afternoon, they texted again, asked if I'd be home, if they could stop by. I typed back without thinking. Sure, come. That second evening felt different. Softer, closer. The lights were low, the air warm. We talked, laughed, leaned in too close, smiled too long. And when the night ended, something inside me knew there was no going back. From then on, they visited often. Sometimes together, sometimes alone. Always with reasons that didn't really matter. And each time I let them in. Thomas made me feel respected. Malik made me feel lighthearted again. Evan made me feel alive. I told myself it was harmless. But it wasn't. Because soon the lines blurred between comfort and temptation. Then came the night it all changed. It was late. The rain was back. I opened the door expecting one of them, but all three stood there. No explanation. Just a look that said more than words ever could. I should have closed the door. I didn't. That night, something inside me crossed a line. There were no heroes or villains. Just 4 people caught in the storm of what they were missing. When the morning came, the world looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The house was quiet again, but the silence was different now. Heavy, knowing. James called that morning. I couldn't answer. My voice would have betrayed me. So I texted instead. All good, just tired. A lie that came too easily. When he returned days later, he looked at me with a kind of pause I hadn't seen before. Maybe he sensed it. Maybe he didn't. But the space between us was no longer his doing. It was mine. I went through the motions. Cooking, cleaning, smiling when expected. But inside I was fractured, torn between guilt and a strange, aching awareness that I had felt alive, even if only for a fleeting moment. I replayed that weekend in my mind again and again. Every word, every look, every moment that should never have happened but did. Was it revenge? Was it weakness? Or was it the desperate act of someone who had forgotten what it felt like to be seen? I don't know. All I know is that the night changed me. It peeled something back that I can't cover again. Now life has gone back to what it was. The house is tidy. The children laugh. James still travels. His friends still visit, though not as often. When they do, we speak politely, carefully, pretending nothing ever happened. But under every word, there's a weight. Sometimes I catch one of them looking at me. And for a moment, it feels like the air thickens again. That's when I remind myself not to go back. But some doors once opened never really close. I let them in. And though the house is quiet now, I still hear echoes of that night in every corner. Loneliness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It knocks softly. And when you're tired enough, you open the door. I did. And I've been trying to find my way back ever since. So tell me, have you ever been so lonely that even the wrong attention felt like the only kind you could find? So starved for warmth that you stopped caring where it came from? If you have, you'll understand, because sometimes the most dangerous doors aren't the ones we lock out of fear. They're the ones we quietly leave open, hoping someone might walk in and fix what we can't fix ourselves. If this story touched something inside you, like it did inside me, stay a little longer. Like this story, share it. And subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, because here we don't just tell stories. We unravel the human heart.